Record. All right, so today we have the last chapter of the module travel writing. It will be about travel writing job platforms where you can find jobs and also where you can publish your work. But we also zoom in a little bit how you interview people, because that's very important, especially interview people abroad when you make travel reportages, which tools you use, like voice recorder, your phone, your camera, and which software as well. And we will also focus on how you put it in an article, at the interview, right? You recorded it and then you want to write an article. Can be a question answer article, more like a story. So that's a bit what we will focus on today, like the travel writing job platforms, but also how to interview and put it into text. So yeah, how do you interview people abroad? So first you start basically here on the picture, with your notebook, right? So also Veronica, if you have any questions, you don't hesitate to interrupt me. You can always ask. So yeah, what we do is we have a notebook, right? And then basically you want to write down questions, right? For the person you want to interview. So let's say you interview a local tour guide. You can write down questions, for example, why did you start with guiding people, or how do you feel about it when people complain after your tour, or what's your craziest experience as a tour guide, and what would you recommend that's off the beaten track. So those are many questions, and can be open questions. That means someone can totally keep talking about something, or it can be a closed question. That means closed questions are, for example, what is your name? What's the date of birth? Where are you from? So it's a very specific answer. An open question is more why did you become a tour guide? Or who, or maybe, or how do you need to work on becoming a tour guide? Which studies and tools should you have, for example, right? So then it's more open, so someone feels in a lot, right, to answer it. So that's the first basically thing, is you note everything down, you prepare the questions, and that's the most important, your preparation, right? Like pre-trip research, for example. So imagine you wrote down all the questions, then you need to choose your scene. And your scene is a place where you interview the person. Maybe the person is in Japan and you are here in Moscow, for example, right? Veronica, you're maybe in Moscow. I'm here now in Spain, for example. And yes, I want, for example, to interview you and the person from Japan. Then maybe we can use the computer, right? We can have a big microphone. We can do it in a podcast form, that I'm talking with you, through Zoom, for example. You have other software as well for podcasts. And you can do that kind of interview that everyone does it from home. It helps to have a good microphone, usually that kind of podcast microphone. Or if you have a good one on your laptop, of course, a quiet environment. Now, I'm not in a quiet environment, but it helps to have a studio or just somewhere a bit more quiet. Further, yeah, what you can do is you can, for very professional interviews, you can choose a studio. That means you can even call someone with the phone. So that's a bit more old school interviews. Now it's more podcasts with the computer. But for example, for a radio interview, you can hear it sometimes in the car when you ride. People interview the radio, right? They call people with the phone, and they call from a studio. I tried myself as well one time to record a phone interview in a big studio in Utrecht during the journalist school. It was very cool. I interviewed someone backpacking abroad. It was about solo traveling. It was very cool. And basically, yeah, you have someone that's behind a whole keyboard with buttons, and they regulate the voice. And yeah, there are many microphones, and you get the best quality of voice basically because you're in a studio. But of course, in the beginning, you don't need to, pay access to a studio, because especially in bigger cities, you can just rent a studio or even a professional. You can also just use your room, right? And have a good microphone. So you can do like a phone interview, you could do like a podcast interview, right? With your computer. Further, you can also just, do it at home, right? Or in a studio. And another one for travel journalists is, of course, travel reportage, and that's like abroad, travel reporting. So imagine if you are like on a specific travel event or like maybe some adventure, you do some adventure sport activities in the extremest form. Imagine you go rock climbing and you interview someone while rock climbing, right? So then you need to take a good microphone with you. Could be, for example, from DJI. They have good microphones. You can pin one here, one mic here on yourself and on the other person, and then you can interview the person. Try to test it out with your friends before you go, so you know everything works, charge everything. So that's more like outdoor. So those are the most difficult interviews because people can interrupt you, like animals can interrupt you, environments, like suddenly like a car or like even a boat, right? So that's very important. Even rain, right? Suddenly it can start to rain or thunder. So those are most difficult ones, but actually the public likes sometimes even those interruptions because it makes it more real. So if you want more like a quiet environment, a very clean voice, then of course studio works the best, or a podcast from your home where you have silence around you. So the third one is more the interview, right? So you set up everything. You have your notebook with your questions, or even a billboard where you see the questions, and you know what you will ask. You have your scene, right? Your environment. Your microphone is working. The microphone of the person you interview. The person knows the address. He is on time. You gave the person coffee, right? It's always good to do that. And then, you need to do the interview, right? So that's like not only asking questions, but also like asking further questions of the questions that you ask. So, for example, you can ask like, so where did you go backpacking for the first time? And someone says, I went to Thailand, right? It's a close question. Then you can make like open question. How did you experience your backpacking trip? The person says, yeah, I loved it. I experienced like one time a scam in a tuk-tuk, and I had one time food poisoning. And then you can use, for example, like a silence, right? And that means the person will talk more about, yeah, the food poisoning was horrible. I needed to take some special pills. Everything was closed, the pharmacy. I called my mom, I cried, and then you can try to trigger emotions, right? So by saying, for example, oh, really, you cried, and how did you feel about it being like alone, And then someone can maybe get angry. Yeah, it was horrible. No one wanted to help me. All the locals ignored me, right? So you kind of trigger emotions. You get more an emotional interview. So it's very interesting because as you can see, you can have the questions, but you can ask further on the questions. You can zoom in on some details. Use silence. When you use silence, the person will tell you more than they want to tell you, right? Especially, people use that as well for interrogating, like the police uses that as well, right? They try to put silences so the people tell a little bit more than that they should, right? So they can gather more information. And emotions that makes like a podcast or an interview very interesting, especially on video and on audio, right? If people like are very excited, if you see like the blink in their eyes, that they are, wow, I catch first time like a wave in Okinawa when I was in Japan, right? Or a horrible experience. That's very important to make the story more alive, like the interview more alive, instead just like the microphone, question answer. Then it makes it more like narrative, right? A story. Of course, further, you need to have, we talked a bit about that, the right microphone. So you need actually to choose which one you take which, right? Depends also of indoor or outdoor recording. Further, we have, you can use like editing, right? So that means when you finish, you can edit like your audio. So it depends. If you want to send it out on a radio, you can edit the audio in Audacity for like just like an audio file for the computer or like audio podcast. You can also use Audacity. It's like a free program, or just some software on your phone, because nowadays smartphones have also a lot of software. Usually it's not that difficult to edit audio. It's usually cutting and removing the audio you don't want, all the ums and ms and pieces you don't want. And further, what you can also do is, when you recorded it, you can write it out, transcription, actually. So that means you listen to the audio from the interview and you write it out. And then you put colors or notes on, it's called like kind of like coloring, right? Like paraphrasing, like different pieces that you want to use in your text. So now we talk not about radio or like a podcast, video, audio interview, but more about putting it in an article. You can take out elements from your audio and you can write like an article from it, right? So we will discuss later a bit what kind of articles you can do from that. So first, it's important to know, like, you have the podcast, or you can make even like, podcast with only audio or with audio and video, and you can put it in text as well. Here you can see a little bit what kind of tools you can choose for your interview. As you can see, like the old way, I still learned how to use it, was like kind of a device, a voice recorder, cost around 90, 100 euro. It's quite cool, feels a bit like a special machine, right? A bit like an analog camera. So it's basically very simple. You can like go back with the interview, go forward, click the record button and stop, right? Some have even like some things with the volume and tone of voice. But to be honest, those are a bit more old school, but still cool to explore if there are modern versions. Other microphone that you can use is from like a studio, so they have more professional ones. Sometimes you have a special person that helps you how to use it, so you don't need to worry about anything, just doing the interview. And if you want to do it at home, your studio, then you can use like a podcast microphone. You can further, when you go abroad, the easiest one that you can use is just on your iPhone, right? That means you can just use your iPhone or Android voice recorder and just record someone's voice in your own, right? To be honest, from my expertise, I would recommend, if you do interviews from your home, get that podcast microphone. If you go outdoor, I would recommend maybe to get a DJI microphone that you can add here, like hide somewhere here and at the other person as well. They're very small, so you don't see them that well. So it's also not disturbing for if you want to do video. So that's also a great way. And if you just don't have anything at the moment, then phone will do as well, like the basic work. So here you can see a bit that program, Audacity. We use that at the journalist school. So you can basically like edit the audio, take all the ums and things like that. It's usually for radio, very easy to use. So I would not give like a tutorial, because you can just hop in on the program. It's just like cutting pieces of audio and just removing what you don't want, or just replacing the order a bit with like video editing, but more easy. This program is very easy to use. Further, we have different article formats. So imagine you have that audio. If you're not into radio or video podcasting, no worries about it. You just have that audio file and you just listen one more time to it. Or if you remember everything, it's fine, but you can rewrite everything in pure form on the text and then take out text you want to put in your article. Or you can just go with the flow. If you feel like, you don't need to rewrite, you just listen a little bit to that audio and you just write or remember from your memory, right? So that's also fine. For everyone, it's different, because sometimes you have interviews of 1 hour, then maybe it's better to write it out or just listen one more time to remember. If you have some specific, very difficult names of cities, of dishes, ingredients, so then it can be helpful. But if it's a short interview of 5 minutes, you can just memorize it usually. So Don't worry about that. So yeah, different like interview article formats. Imagine you have your travel website, right? Your travel blog, and yeah, you don't want to make like a personal essay. You don't want to make a travel report. You just wanted to interview someone, right? Let's say I have my Peru Tours website and I want to do like an interview with an expat that's like retired when he is like 60 years old in Lima in Peru, and I want to document about his experience, how it is to live like 5 years in Peru, right? So that can be like an interview about his culture shocks, about his culinary experiences, maybe something very dangerous that happened when he was there. So when you have that article format, you can use different styles. The most easy one is, so that's like the most natural way, is just question and answer. So question is, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Los Angeles, California. Closed question, right? Because it's a direct answer. And then you can ask, what was your biggest culture shock you encountered in Peru? Oh, then comes like a long open question because the person will talk about his experience. And of course, you can also use like that immersive storytelling questions, huh? Like saying like, oh, how did you feel about being robbed on the streets? What kind of emotions did you have? So some people it triggers sometimes emotions when they remember like a specific moment. It's a bit like a trauma. Psychologists use that as well. And then you can get those pure emotions out. So it makes, of course, like the story more realistic. You can ask a bit further the people so you know it's like authentic. So that's a bit with question, answer, just a question and an answer. That's how the article looks like. Question, answer, question, answer. So that means, yeah, one example again. What's your favorite food? I love to eat ceviche. And which food makes you the most emotional? Like lomos saltados, for example. And why does it make you emotional? Then they say like, oh yeah, first time I was eating it with my granddaughter, blah 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 blah, right? And there you get like a whole story. But the format is question answer. And another format, we have narrative style. So narrative style is when we don't put like question and then an answer. It's just more like a story. Narrative means like a story, right? So that means it can be like, the ceviche is delicious, said like the expat sitting in the Peruvian restaurant. And then you can put like quotes, right, of the people. So that means like it's delicious, and you put it in a quote. I will later show you some examples. So that's more narrative style. Then we have also like a profile piece. So that's more like a story like from a narrator. So that means you don't really put the quotes, you just tell more a story in the third form. Like the man walked there, he enjoyed the ceviche, it was delicious according to the man. He tried the ceviche with coriander, with some hot chili peppers in a very old wooden tavern in the center of Lima, where he could hear the cars honk, but still enjoyed the fresh fish on his plate. So that's like an example, like a narrator, right? So I'm telling the story about that man. So that the difference with narrative is that in the narrative we put quotes. So direct like I smell the freshness of the ceviche, and that's in a quote. Question answer, just question answer, question answer. Okay, and to be honest, you don't need to worry too much about it. Usually you do it automatically when you write the story. And a hybrid style is basically mixing everything up. So you can start with question, answer, then do a little bit narrative style of quotes, and then a bit of a profile piece. You can start, for example, with the profile piece. There is a man sitting in an old tavern. He holds a cold pisco sour glass in his hand and is eating slowly his ceviche. His name is Rob. He's a retired US military veteran, and he is now living his old best days in Lima, and he tries to deal with local culture shocks abroad. So that's, for example, that profile piece, like a narrative, and then you put the quotes, how he feels or thinks and says things. Then you can put a bit of question answer, for example, right? So like, what's your name? What's your favorite dish? Or like, how do you feel about it? And then just question answer. So that's a bit what kind of interview article formats you have. Just to keep it simple, I would just recommend to remember question answer and in general more like a storytelling article or mixing it up. But I just wanted to teach also that you have different forms. So now just to get a feeling how it works, there's a small assignment to guess what kind of form the text is written. If it's in question answer, narrative style, so that's more with quotes, or profile piece, so that's more like talking in the third form, like narrator, or hybrid style, everything mixed up. So yeah, Veronica, you are the only one today. So what do you think is the first one? And what kind of style?
The first one, I don't just visit places, I live them, says travel blogger Lina. It's narrative style. Oh, sorry.
Let me check. Yeah, that's correct. The first one is
It's narrative.
narrative
Yes,
style.
it's narrative style. Right.
But still, when you have number one here, we have also Q and A. This
Okay.
one here. So what
What
is
is
this?
it? Yeah. Question answer.
Yes,
So
yes,
this
yes.
is hybrid.
So this is hybrid. Yeah, well done, well done. It was like a difficult one to guess because the first one started with a hybrid. Well done. So we have a narrative piece, a question answer piece in one article. So that means it's hybrid, right? Hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid.
It's
Yes.
very cool because you can like make the article more interesting, right? If you do it like that. And what's the second one?
Candles and crying people around a coffin. Ahmed monetized his passion for photography from documenting dead bodies before funeral in India. This is written in the third part, so this is a piece.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a profile piece.
Profile
Yeah.
piece. Profile piece.
So you tell more like a story, from like a bit of
Yes.
a third person
Yeah.
about someone. Like you should form how we tell stories to our friends, right? Like, yeah, I saw a man and he jumped in the water, he saved an animal, a cat that was drowning, for example, right? And sometimes also very cool because now with travel journalists, I do that personally a lot. You can use those techniques also in telling stories to your friends, even about gossips, for example, about just something that happened during your day. Then people also feel more like listening to you. They're very curious because you know how to trigger those emotions, how to put the quotes, right? So you can even do it like with talking with people. But well done. Yeah, it's like a profile one. And the third one.
At the sunset over Belly's rice terraces, Maria spoke about her travel changed her life. I used to fear being alone, she said, but now I find peace in wandering as a solo female traveler. Oh, fantastic. I like it so much. Very
Yeah,
romantic.
more like a quote. Let me see. I
It's a
think
quote.
yeah,
It's a
it's like a
narrative.
quote.
It's a narrative.
Yeah, exactly. And the
And
fourth
you know
one.
what?
Mm-hmm.
That it's some kind of a profile piece before this quote. You know why? Because it said at the sunset over Balistra's terraces, Maria, its third part, spoke about how travel changed her life. If it will be the part, it will be like a profile piece without this quotation. But as far as has quotation, so it will be narrative, but still
Yeah,
it
that's
will
correct.
hybrid style. Hybrid style.
Yeah, you could also call it a little bit hybrid style. Yeah, that's true. Because you have that kind of beginning, right? Like telling a bit in the narrator form. Yeah,
Yes.
but usually when you put the quotes inside, then it's just narrative style because it's
Yes.
also a lot of quotes.
What inspired you to start a farm in the desert? I wanted to make an impact by harvesting forgotten lands of our ancestors to inspire the younger generation. This is question answer.
That's correct. Yeah, perfect. Even if it's like a long one, still it can be like question answer. And
Yeah.
usually it reads fine as well. But the cool way is to sometimes like combine it, right? Do it like hybrid, a little bit question answer, a little bit you put the narrative, the personal, right? So it can
Yeah.
be very cool, like the profile. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, well done. I see you totally understand it. Awesome. Okay, so we have, this is like a challenge. So basically, I know, Veronica, you wrote like your interview article. So later we would just, after I stop the recording, we would just go a little bit through it and I can give you feedback. We can check it. So your challenge for the next lesson will be to rewrite it, like your interview article in another format. I think you put it in question answer from what I remember, and then you can rewrite it more in narrative or like more like the profile or hybrids. That's up to you. And also, if you have the chance, you can also even add some pictures to it, for example. That's always good if you do like an interview to also make some photography of the person, or like sometimes you record it on video, because next module is about photography. So you can also, if you have any pictures, you can add them as well. And if not, so no worries about it, because the next module we will try all those articles you wrote. You can then, still provide pictures for them, or just do new ones, more like travel photography collages, right? Because we will focus more on the images. So that's a bit the challenge for next time. And yeah, let me know, do you have any questions maybe about the challenge? Because I
No.
can imagine maybe some students will have something similar. So it's basically for those that still listen now to the recording, and if you didn't do the previous assignments, so the assignments is basically to interview someone. It can be an expat, international student, a local farmer. It can be like even like your old teacher. You can choose totally your own character that you want to interview. Try, of course, to do it in your own niche. And then yeah, you can like write it out, right? So that means you create an article. Can be in question answer format, or it can be like in narrative, can be in a profile, or hybrid. So you can choose yourself. And next class we'll go a little bit through it, and maybe you can still even put there some images. So yeah, just like a bit at the end, we will focus like on this module. Like, yeah, we had about travel writing, but the question is, where do you publish it, right? Imagine you wrote 5, 6, 7 stories, one interview, right? We had personal essay about your personal adventures, long form travel reportage, right? That's based on research. It could also have been like, yeah, we had personal essay, right? Or just like question answer, right? The interview, a lot of different ones, different formats. So the question is, yeah, where do you like publish it, right? Do you publish it on your own website, on WordPress.com, like on a travel blog? Maybe you write like a guest blog post for another student. For example, if yeah, you live maybe in, for example, let's say you live like in Germany, someone lives like in Japan, you can exchange, right? Maybe you can write a piece about Berlin for for a travel blog of someone that writes about different destinations around the globe. Or maybe you visited Japan and then you write to a fellow student that's from there, for example. So that's a good way. And you can also connect, of course, with our fellow students inside our platform. We are with 80 plus people. So you'll find for sure a lot of people from different countries. You can send them a personal message like, hey, can I write like a guest blog for your website? In the profiles, you can usually see a little bit what the niches of people are. And if you don't see any website or something where you can find, you can always ask them and chat with them. And of course, you can use that as well in Facebook groups and outside the platform as well. Further, we have some other websites like Medium you can use. You can there publish your articles. So you can just sign up, publish an article and people can find it. It's very cool as your portfolio as well. So I would recommend your travel blog, some articles on Medium. You can use social media like your Instagram account, like your X, like former Twitter, LinkedIn. I would really recommend LinkedIn. It's very powerful nowadays. Facebook, you can share your content then in Facebook groups as well. We have also like YouTube. Personally, I'm like a big fan of like YouTube, LinkedIn, and travel blog because they are a bit more serious channels, I would say. But of course, it depends of your niche. So, for example, for your specific niche, maybe suddenly TikTok is more important or Instagram. So all the platforms have something important, right? But I like personally, for example, YouTube, LinkedIn, and travel blog because it's more long form. So you're not scrolling consistently, like what it can give you a headache, and the people that watch your content as well. So you can lose people because they can just swipe with their finger and your content disappears. But on YouTube, people build more like a relationship with you, with LinkedIn as well, and with the travel blog as well, because they spend more time, right, reading it. But for example, you can also put the long form content, make it short, and then give that kind of teasers on Instagram, on TikTok, right, on X. And then people will click on it and click through and go to your YouTube or travel blog, for example. And for with the travel blog, it's also nice if people have questions, they put it in Google or ChatGPT now. We had it last time about AIO, AI search engine optimization, right, for the ChatGPT, so people can also find you like that. But definitely like follow your own instinct, and I would recommend try at the moment just to choose one platform, right? Like where you want to publish it. Do you focus first only on local newspapers? So it can be like a neighborhood newspaper, right? So imagine like I live in The Hague, you have The Hague newspaper, the chances is higher that I get published in The Hague newspaper as a new, for example, like travel journalist writing a story about the Moroccan woman that surf in the sea and protects the beach from like pollution, for example. I can call the article like the Moroccan guardians of the sea, for example, right? So local newspaper can be interesting, like, oh wow, someone went from this city to travel to Morocco and to write this story, right? So the chance is higher that you can get there published than in the national newspaper. Still, of course, you can give it a try, like BBC and like New York Times, but yeah, it's not that easy, right? So I would recommend go for local, even like not only city but even neighborhood, because there are also neighborhood newspapers like Beverly Hills, for example, right? It's a neighborhood magazine about like a new restaurant that opened in the area. It's much easier to get published, so that's a very good thing to do. I would also like to create like for us as students like a travel magazine. So the idea is that we will have like every time at the end of the month kind of like a newsletter by email, and then you can also pitch a story and then write that story so people will receive it in their email. So there are like a couple thousand of emails in the subscribers list, and then people can read your story. So like it's your first publication, you can make a screenshot from it, and you can also put it on your website as a portfolio that you were like published in the travel journalism magazine, right? So we will also work on that to kind of empower you as well. So you have at least one publication. You can also pitch if you have a story about Peru, or you want to interview an expert in Peru or something specific in that niche. You can also pitch to perutours.nl because it's like my website. Or if you want to make more an informative article about travel journalists or your own experience as a student, that's also fine. You can pitch as well. And I can also like publish it. And further try, to network a lot, right? Guest blog posts for other websites of other students, right? That are your first publications. You maybe don't get like paid for it, but it's like your portfolio. You have the later 4 or 5 publications, and then you will get paid for the next ones, right? Because people see you published work, you can show it, right, in your portfolio, and then local newspapers or like niche magazines will get more interested. So the same with local newspapers, like with niche magazines, of course, like getting published in National Geographic, it happens also for like people that are totally new in the field. But usually it's more about the story hunting. They have like a very unique story to tell, right? Something very unique, an experience. I had, for example, that experience that I experienced a severe high altitude sickness in Cusco. Was very sick, and I tried to cure myself with like coca leaves and soroche pills, and eventually it didn't work, and I needed to descend lower, right? So, for example, that's like a story. So they published it, but in the beginning, it's more helpful just to focus on niche magazine, like gardening magazine, and then you can go abroad and then maybe document like how people garden in Turkey and how we can use it like in Netherlands, for example, their techniques, right? Because of the climate change, for example. So it can be, yeah, very interesting. Or you can write for like, let's say you went abroad, you saw an amazing surf town, you know it's a hidden one, no one knows about it. You can write for a surf magazine. So it's more niche, right? All those magazines. And especially it helps if you have your own niche, something you're interested in, like Veronica, you mentioned, for example, like yoga. Imagine you are interested into that and you found the most hidden yoga retreats in Bhutan that are like on 4,000 meters above sea level, that you can make a very cool story for that yoga magazine. There are a lot of probably already yoga magazines, but maybe you have yoga magazine in Moscow, maybe you have yoga magazine in the UK or in London, in Krakow, in Poland. So try to go as niche as possible at the beginning. Try at the beginning to with the neighborhoods, with even street like newspapers, like college newspapers, university newspapers, maybe even newspapers like newsletters for some local companies, like a newsletter for a local restaurant, a Japanese restaurant. You get your first publications out there. And also a great way to do is having your YouTube channel and just documenting, talking, interviewing people. Like a podcast is a great way because you don't need to be like a celebrity. You can always interview a celebrity, right? You can interview someone that had an amazing story. It's not that you need always to put like risk and jump somewhere in the swamps or swim with the crocodiles, right? You can interview someone that experienced maybe something like very crazy, adventurous, sad, or very enthusiastic, right? Or had a lot of luck with something. That's how we can like collect stories, right? So it's by interviewing people. And oh yeah, I see also a question from Veronica. Sorry for replying that late. Audacity, it's like a program to edit like your audio, basically. So it's like if you ever like doing content for radio or like a podcast, you can like use Audacity. But for podcasts, you have also other software. So it's more like for editing your audio. So it's only necessary if you put it on video or in radio or podcast format. But if you use it for articles, you just don't need to edit it. I mean, you just play the button and just listen to it, and then you take out what you need, all the quotes, right? You can maybe back it up just in case that you have it as proof. If it's for like a magazine or like other publication than your blog, for example. That's about Audacity. You can always check it out if you and play a bit with it. Yeah, and YouTube channel, of course, you can show a bit backstage, like how you go and try to find the stories, how you travel, like try to be authentic. Like don't put yourself like, oh, I'm so amazing that I'm like now horseback riding, doing this or that. Try to show like your vulnerable side as well. Like, oh yeah, I'm already 8 hours in the cafe. I had 4 cappuccinos, but still I didn't make any money because I sent out 50 pitches to big magazines, National Geographic, Afar, and no one replied to me the whole day. right? So you can also show your vulnerable side, because that's what people like sometimes, because they say, hey, I had exactly the same, like I can relate to it, right? So YouTube channel helps to kind of yeah, show a bit like your workspace, right? What you do. So that's a bit, yeah, where you can publish your work, and there's a lot, and we will of course dive deeper into it. With every module, I kind of give small pieces so you can already test out by trying to publish your work, especially for free at the moment. But don't hesitate if you feel like you're ready to get paid for it. Also pitch to companies to get paid. So the next slide is actually where you can find like travel writing job platforms. So even from now, from this moment, you can check out Upwork, Fiverr, freelancer.com. So those are more for like remote work and freelance work. That means you are self-employed, right? And there's a project, for example, I did one time like a ghostwriting project for like an e-learning company. They paid me then like 4,000 euros to like write like whole program for their school about social work, for example. So that's like a ghostwriting project. So that means I didn't really get credibility from it because my name was not there. So it was more about the payment, right? So as travel journalist, you can also do it like a travel guide. Let's say you do a travel guide for Lonely Planet. They don't put your name, then it's ghostwriting. If you write a travel guide for a Lonely Planet and they put your name on it, then it's not ghostwriting anymore. You get the credits, right? But sometimes you can do ghostwriting as well. And usually it pays, yeah, quite good because people just want like your content and they pay for it. A good example is like writing thesis, right? For a university student. So some people do that as well. So we have like, yeah, so Upwork, Fiverr, freelancer.com. There you can basically find jobs, but also like in Facebook groups, you can see people advertising jobs, or they look just for someone to write a guest blog post and they want to pay you 100, 200 euros. Those small, like, yeah, hustle projects, right? Of course, long term, I would recommend to focus on projects where people pay you 2, 3, 4,000 euros. And even better, like full-time employment or like a full-time freelance contract where you contribute for, let's say, 3, 4 years to the same magazine, for example. Those collaborations are the best because you have consistent income, right? And that's how you can live from it and work from, let's say, Bali or Tulum in Mexico or Tamarindo in Costa Rica. Yeah, so the names of the Facebook groups. So which Facebook groups? I would recommend to use the following keywords like travel bloggers, travel journalists, travel content creators. You can find people that are a bit in the same industry, travel photographers, travel videographers as well, travel influencers we can also put. Then usually people post there also the jobs. And if you want more specific, they could put like travel journalism jobs or like copywriting jobs. So that means if you write like copy, yeah, so to help tourist companies to make more sales, so you write the text in a bit sales format to sell to their clients. Can be content marketing jobs. So you basically write content. Can be for social media, can be for the website, can be for the email campaigns, can be for even for YouTube a script, right? What other things? Social media management. Usually as journalists, we hang out a lot on social media, so we know also how to manage it. So a lot of tourist companies need that. And even travel magazines also have their Instagram, LinkedIn. So you can also say, hey, I don't want to write articles for you, but I can manage your social media channels, write short stories for like Facebook and email or Instagram. Yeah, email falls a bit out of social media, but more, yeah, Facebook, TikTok, those platforms where you interact. Further, we have, let me check. Yeah, so those are like those examples. Let me check other groups. There are sometimes some associations. You can also sometimes feel associations like travel writers association. Sometimes there are paid platforms, but you can like find their jobs as well. Like Tref Media, I also recommend Tref Media. You can create your own profile as a travel journalist, and then tourist companies can also reach out to you. So that's also very cool. Let me check further what we have. Yeah, so the last one I didn't discuss is Indeed.com. So this is actually great if you want to find like a full-time job. I didn't mention too many platforms, just to keep it a bit more like an overview that you can first try with these ones, see if it works. And the next sessions, I will provide more resources and let you get a whole list from all the platforms. But I know if I give now a whole list of hundreds platforms or hundreds magazines, it's very difficult to kind of, to choose which one you want to apply for. So just try out with these ones. On Indeed.com, you can create your CV. Yes, sorry.
Sorry. Travel Media, where is it? In Facebook?
The Tref Media is outside of Facebook. I think they have also a Facebook group. You can check it out, but it's basically like a platform where you can create your profile. You can chat also with people. A bit a platform like we have from our academy, but it's like huge. It's like in a lot of different regions. They don't really do like e-learning or something, but basically, yeah, you can reach out to a lot of fellow journalists, to PR experts, and to tourism companies and travel editors as well. So yeah, quite a nice platform. I recommend it. I was even like talking one time with the director through the chat. So the people are very approachable. So don't hesitate to approach people. It's a bit like LinkedIn, but for the travel and tourism industry.
All right. Okay.
I think it's something like trefmedia.com. We can check later if it's. I will check later with you, Veronica, if it's working well. Everything. Okay, so that are a bit the travel writing platforms. So yeah, the challenge, so we close this module with travel writing. Of course, during the travel photography module, we will still use like the photography for your articles. So if you wrote already all those articles, like the travel reportage, the interview, the personal essay, then yeah, you have your first portfolio already. You can start pitching. You can put it in your CV, you can put it on LinkedIn, you can share it. And now we will like focus more on travel photography, how to like make your stories more visual, right? So you can add those pictures to your stories, or just write a new story, add those pictures, or only pictures if you're like a journalist, travel journalist focus on photography only. So it depends all of you. So the challenge is to rewrite your interview article in another format. And of course, you can add some pictures, and that will be the best because it's the new challenge for the new module. So thanks for watching, everyone. I will just close the recording, and then I will just talk a bit with Veronica to discuss her interview assignments. So thank you, everyone. Let's check. Oh, here it is, the recording button.